What can I say? Except you're welcome. Welcome, 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 dear all, to twitch.tv/Wensleydale Cheddar. This is Stammer Stream, a manga podcast so professional that I keep wanting to say Hitbox, even though it doesn't exist anymore. I'm your stammering host, Wensleydale Cheddar, and I've got a broken toe. I'm here alongside your non-stammering hosts, Dr. Nova, whose toe is presumably fine, Hovin with an H, whose toe is in a much better state than his opinions about World Trigger, and Kastor UK, whose toe is in a tip-top shape, positively delightful, rather, Yugi boy.
My toe is the best part of my current opinion. I was gonna make a joke and I was like, you know what, I'm just too lost in the accent now, I can't do it.
More like yawn trigger.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
It's a bit of Pegasus and Tim Curry together.
I don't know what you're talking about, Wensley boy. Now I've got you all trapped in this Skype call. I'm sending you all to the Shadow Realm.
Oh no!
You all stole my joke. Damn you.
Our bad.
Right. How are you guys doing?
I am free.
Not bad.
It's lovely.
Doing very well. I found out something very amusing this week. Which is that I unintentionally at one point let slip to some of the people at work that I do this podcast. I didn't say the name because it's very inappropriate for children. But one of them was very disappointed that they couldn't listen to the podcast because it wasn't child-friendly. So, for them specifically, I would like to declare this the very first Stammer Stream child-friendly episode. Fuck! Never mind. Shit.
Oh, you
Because
did it
I'd
again.
already sworn.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I've been in London for the first time in months, and I managed to go to Comic Con, the London Comic Con this weekend, which was super fun.
Nice.
Got loads and loads of pictures of cosplayers, which was great. Me and my friend had a good time.
Yeah, I've noticed your pictures, and I've also noticed that I didn't really draw your avatar properly.
Ah, right. Whoops.
I mean, I did get the unibrow, but yeah, your hairstyle changed considerably.
Yeah, it's gone much less shaggy now.
Yeah, so probably
Yeah.
once my exams are over and once I'm finished with all the Penganta stuff I have to do, I am going to probably update that because the past few weeks have been frantic for me. As I've mentioned, I've broken my toe, and it was just after doing those recordings that I mentioned last week, which is why I couldn't be present during the last week's podcast. Which what happened to that, by the way?
Do you want to take this or should I?
Oh, okay. I should apologize. Basically, we were going to have an episode with Grail from the forum. We did actually do the Skype call for it, and I was meant to record it, but something went wrong with the Skype recording software I was using, and the episode did not record. And I'm very, very sorry about this. I should have done a test call or something, and I'm especially sorry to Grail for allowing this to happen. But these sort of slip-ups do just they do take place here and there. If I'm ever left with recording something again, I will be sure to do a quick test just to make sure the software I'm using is working.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but these things happen. We're sorry to Grail. We hope to have him on some other times, probably in the summer when I'm not here, so we can have a full roster.
Yeah, it'll be really cool to have him back on.
You know, but
there is one bright side. There is one bright side to this, which is that now me and Hovin can reuse all of the really good jokes we had last week, and it'll sound original.
Yay.
Although,
Well, I think we're all missing the common connection here. Whenever Grail comes and appears on podcasts, whether it be manga related or FTL, the recording always disappears, and it's never anyone's fault.
although I will say you probably might have a chance to record it again next week because I think I have to take at least a week off in preparation for my exams. I still will probably manage to be there, maybe physically, but just not. But just maybe talk in the chat room or something, and maybe to facilitate it for you, we'll still record it from my computer.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Before we start off, though, there is one small tangent I want to go on because I've recently gone through almost all of the most recent Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Echoes: Shadows of Valentia, and it's very, very good. It's an excellent game. There's great characters. There's great gameplay. But there's there are two main characters. One of them is Celica. And I understand she's a very beloved character in the Fire Emblem community. I don't understand why. Because she is hands down the dumbest person in the entire series. And I don't mean to say this in a mean way. It's just a question of... She's a very holier-than-thou kind of character, at least in the sense that every single time there's a possible sacrifice to happen, she, like, puts her hand up at me, like, I'll do it. But she does it in situations that don't really warrant it. Like, at one point, there's a wizard. At one point, like, one wizard facing her and her army down. And he's like, oh, I will kill all your friends unless, like, you give up and give me your soul. And immediately she's like, don't hurt my friends, I'll do it. And all her friends are like, there's one of him and like 28 of us. You really don't have... I think we can take him. And then, not to spoil anything, but towards the end of the game, there's this villain who she makes a deal with. And this character, I want to point out, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to spoil anything, but they have been shown as nothing but a shithead. This entire game, there has never been a moment when you don't think like they're off screen, like murdering kittens or something along those lines. And then she makes a deal with him. She's like, so you won't hurt my friends? And he's like, nope, teleport them to a death dungeon. And she's like, but you promised. And I'm like, what part of he's evil has not been completed yet? Like, how is this, like, this has happened like 5 times during this game. What part of, like, he has no reason to give up his bargain for you. He has no reason to hold up his end of the deal. But she's like, but I thought we were friends. Like, no, he's a wizard of death.
You know, claiming a character as the most stupid in Fire Emblem is quite a lofty claim with how many Moe Blob love interest characters there are in that thing.
Oh my god, there's 3 in this game, and she's worse than all of them. I hate Faye. I really hate Faye, but she's worse.
I just remember finding... My only knowledge of Fire Emblem girls is it's the ones from Awakening, and I remember being quite a big fan of Olivia.
Oh, which one?
I remember.
She's the dancer.
Oh,
the
yeah.
one that randomly turns up, and you've got one like chapter to make her fall in love with Crom if you want that ending.
Actually, all you
she
have
had
to
pink
do...
hair.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah.
She was weird.
I thought she was cute, but that was just me.
I found her amusing. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the new Fire Emblem game. Very good, but Celica is just awful.
I've never played Fire Emblem. I just play Undertale over and over again.
It's an endless loop.
That's my whole experience with games.
It's fair.
But by the way, you've mentioned that one of the characters is similar to Rin.
To Rin.
From
yes.
our adventures on the forum.
So on Om's path, if you go long enough, you find a character named Luthier who mentions that his little sister, Delphia, I'm going to say, has been captured. Delphia is a short, brown-haired girl with a small fang at the side, who wears bright orange and yellow colors, is extremely cocky and extremely self-reliant on herself, loves bragging about her powers, and is also one of the strongest mage characters in the entire game, and shoots huge orange blasts at people.
Oh, cool. Could you
I found a picture.
could you link her to me? Now I won't have to draw her. I'll just paste that picture onto the.
Delphia.
No, you can't quite copy and paste him because I do want to check. I want to check Nova.
Oh no!
Britain's older than this, right?
Kastor just posted it in the Skype chat. That's not actually. That's the old Delphia. I'll post a new one.
It links to the page with the good one on.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But no, this was hilarious to me. Just when this character showed up, I'm like, oh my god, it's literally Rin.
You keep saying, yeah, I do. I need to check. This Delphia looks 9 years old. Rin looks older, right? I need to check. I need confirmation.
Delphia is 13. Rin is 17, and she does look older. But as I've said before, she's only 5'3", so she's very short.
I know. Everything fits apart from the fact that this is definitely a 13-year-old child on this picture, and I do not want. And I have no Fire Emblem. I know they'll claim she's 200 or something, but I want to check.
Yeah.
That was a weird part of that.
That's the excuse certain friends of mine use with some of their favorite characters in Monogatari. So.
Well, that's the excuse hero uses.
Speaking of which, manga. Perfect transition.
Yes,
transition.
Except we don't start with Fairy Tail, but with One Piece, chapter 866. We're doing a double feature once again, but because there wasn't a last week, but yeah, One Piece was on break, so it's only one chapter. So chapter 866.
Okay, chapter 866. A load of shit happened on the Isle of Elbaf a long time ago, and every single page is about 7 things I want to mention, but not enough time for that. So we start off with a 5-year-old Charlotte Linlin, aka Big Mum, who is abandoned by her parents on this island for apparently several casualties, and she's left at already looking about 12 foot tall to go and live with the Holy Sister on this island, which turns out is Caramel, who we find out after the giants from Little Garden left, essentially started their 100-year battle. Their entire crew got captured and were about to be executed, apart from Caramel saved them by pointing out that if you kill these giants, the entire giant nation will kill every single human. So they let them go. For some reason, she then went on to run an orphanage of essentially all the misfit children in the world, and everyone all the children who parents didn't want them and left them, and they went on the Isle of Elbaf, which Linlin joins, and we then we then get a bit about Big Mum's character, in that she always seems to be trying to do well, and trying to do well and good, but is insanely strong and keeps just killing things. But interestingly, Caramel is kind to her and essentially always sees the kind intent instead of the monstrous action, which kind of explains how Big Mum came to be as we see her. She was essentially told, this is okay because you mean well. No, and at no point was it mentioned, this is not okay. You mean well. Try not to kill things. To the point where she tries to rip an arm off a limb off a long-armed person because they have too many limbs, and gets forgiven for it. But enough about that. We have giant cameos of literally every giant we've ever seen. We see the giant guards from Ennie's lobby. We see a young Hadrodin. And then we get introduced to major lore characters who are the oldest living warriors on the planet, of Yul Fallbeard and Jarl Mountainbeard, who are about who are 340 years old, and obviously really important in future because we skip very quickly past them. On to find out that on the Isle of Elbath, they're about to have a winter fast festival for the birth of the young prince, which we heard about recently. And they
Hello, Kastor? You're breaking up a
Okay,
bit
it's not just me.
on my end.
You're breaking up a bit on our end.
Uh, okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, now we can
I'm
hear you
guessing
loud
not.
and clear.
Yeah.
Okay. When did I start breaking off? Or shall we just stop talking about the chapter?
We were breaking
fuck.
up just while they were introducing the Semla.
Yeah.
The Semla.
Oh, yes.
Semla.
Okay. Someone yell if I start breaking up again.
Okay.
So, with the Selma, they celebrate the birth of Prince Loki. They were about to have a fasting festival to a sort of general winter thing of we have no food. Let's celebrate the fact we have no food with hope for the future. And Big Mom start starving, and then can't do the fast and kills everybody with fire. I don't know how she did this because it's shown to be absurdly strong, but these are giants and they are lying dead around her on fire.
Yeah, this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is certainly. Yeah, the flashback is moving at a very brisk pace, so there are a lot of ellipses in the story. But yeah.
I love this chapter so much. Oda's never done a bad flashback, and I really love the complexity that he started to layer into them recently, because the last two ones, at least the last two big ones we've gotten, have been Brooks and Laws, also the continuation of Luffy's in between there. But it really does so much to give you an extra light for this character. We can't actually hear you right now, Kastor.
I'm not talking. That might be
Oh.
why.
You just sent in a message saying, "Can you hear me?" to
No,
the chat.
no, that was
I sent it a
before.
while ago.
Oh, that just got to me for some. Oh, wow. Okay. So Canadian Skype sucks, as we've learned. But Charlotte Linland, when I first saw her as the 5-year-old child, I was really taken aback. I'm like, that is adorable. She is so cute. And as it
She's also definitely human.
Definitely human, as we found out. But as it keeps going, we see her in all these different lights, and it makes so much sense how Big Mom, as we know her now, would start out as a child like this. And it makes me love the character so much more, considering that not only do we have this really touching backstory to her that's already in the folds, but we get to see where her, like, manic love of sweets comes from, and see that this really, and it's what Oda does so well, this funny, amusing character trait has this really creepy, tragic backstory to it. And
I also love how we get the inverse. Her entire acceptance of violence and death and killing people is all born from her trying to be a good person and not understanding she's a child, but not being like the feedback she got from Caramel was positive reinforcement. Just, oh, you mean well, but it's the argument of a child. You can't just forgive. You have to learn eventually, and she never learned, and now she's Big Mom.
And that's the segue to the recap of We Never Learn, everybody.
Whoa, hold on.
We have a lot of shit to go through.
we haven't even talked about Beard Hill and Beardfall yet.
Oh yeah, I'm pissed about that, but because freaking full beard. Oda ripped off the surname I wanted to use for one of Penganta's main characters.
Oh, damn. My friend was very annoyed when I posted a screenshot of them that they had horned helmets, because even though these are fictitious characters, anything with horned helmets makes him think back to the misconception about Vikings, because he's a big history student.
Oh
So,
yes, yes, because One Piece is so realistic in its portrayals of various different ethnic nationalities and so on.
Oh god.
My
Spain
Spain
had-
doesn't like it very
guy-
much.
Spain had a Roman Colosseum and dwarves in it. Can we just decide that it's not?
And let's
Native
skate over the
Americans
nations
were
side
angels.
here.
Now it explains why
yeah.
he doesn't like this series. It all comes together now.
But guys, no one tell Balki that Vikings didn't have Vikings didn't have horned helmets. I got it right eventually.
Very well, but I am going to just congratulate Oda, because not only has he created 2 excellent, like, new laughs for these characters, which is Zaba 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 Zaba, and Boja Ja Ja Ja, which is great, but I just love how many different nicknames he can come up with for people with beards.
Beautiful Build Hill.
And it's awesome. I love it's like,
yeah.
my beard's a waterfall. It's like, yeah, it kind of is.
And all born from the pirate, from the pirate Blackbeard. And like, how many different beards can we fit into this series?
And nobody ever point out to Whitebeard, he just had a mustache. His chin was actually pretty well shaved.
Yeah, that's actually a result of like.
Out to Whitebeard, yeah.
Yeah, that's
that is-
Japanese.
Yeah, the Whitebeards. Yeah, it's a weird case where like the word Japan just have like a word
Higa.
for facial hair. They don't have a word for beard, so that is a beard to them.
True.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, so
I would also love to see the guy trying to point out to Whitebeard that he didn't have a beard and see how long that guy lasted.
If Whitebeard's just like, puts a hand to his chin. Shit! Alright, white stash now. How about that? It's like, not sure if that quite sinks the fear into the hearts of our enemies, my lord.
White Stash makes it sound like very different pirates. Boss.
Makes it sound like slightly more realistic modern day pirates.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
No,
love.
this chapter was absolutely excellent. I cannot wait for next week.
Yeah, I also love this. I mean, even Lin Lin's simple but unique personality was enough to make it very entertaining. Because Big Mom is such an interesting villain. It's the first time we have one so similar to Luffy in his childhood innocence. As we see, she still has it to this very day. And her obsession with fixing other races is especially interesting, given how open-minded she seems to be when it comes to race now. Given that, yeah, Totland is an enclave for all races.
Yeah.
And she just wants to help people. And you mentioned Luffy, because I see the connection now. And I think the way they differ is that as children they had very, very different parental figures. Because Garp was just a dick.
Yeah,
Like,
Garp was kind of abusive.
But he had Luffy's best interest at heart, and just wasn't easy on him because he was a child, and Luffy grew up to be a good person. Whereas Caramel just forgives everything Lin does, and she grows up to be Big Mom.
Yeah.
I quite like the thing of just like, if you just forgive everybody, it doesn't automatically make them good.
Well,
I think Kishimoto could have taken this advice.
Then again,
regard? Oh, you mean Sasuke?
Oh yeah, we can forgive Sasuke.
Oh,
we can give
right,
him a
yeah.
love interest and a daughter. Everything's fine now.
Oh, God.
then again, Garp threw Luffy into a jungle.
Yes.
Garp was an asshole. We can all decide upon this.
Yeah.
Oh my word! It's
But
bouncing it down outside.
Oh dear.
Yeah. But he did.
I don't know if you can hear.
I recently. I know we can't actually. It's great.
Yay!
But I recently reached the Marineford arc because the dub was out, and
sweet.
the amount, the build up they give to essentially when Luffy running up to onto the stand where Ace is, and Garp literally says, "You're going to have to kill me to get to him." The amount of weight they give to the moment of "I put you through shit, but it's because I loved you and I wanted you to always do the right thing." And it was just like Garp was an abusive parent, but he loved Luffy. He loved Ace.
Oh, that was
Sorry,
such a good scene.
It's
And he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting to see Harujin, Hadrudin,
Yeah.
Hadrudin here, because I wonder what Lin would think of him, her childhood friend, kind of now knowing that he is Luffy's subordinate.
That'd be interesting.
Also, I'm still.
Well, I'm guessing she got. Yeah. Go on.
You're breaking up again, Kastor.
Sorry, go on.
I'm also still wondering how precisely religion works in the One Piece universe, because we once again have a religious figure of sorts, which I suppose I've heard Tekking theorize that she has dragon's fruit and of weather manipulation or something. It might be an air logia, and that's how she is able to to put on how she's able to put on this spectacle in front of the Marines.
We did have the I'd agree if it was planned, but we did have the moment where Usopp was lifted into the sky and rubble fell around to make him God. So I would not put it down to it being a lucky coincidence that worked.
Yeah. I'd say that. Anything else you want to note about the chapter?
Yes, the cover page.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Cavendish is the prince of the bourgeois kingdom. So is it like the whole population is made up of bourgeoisie? But it's a kingdom, which implies royalty, which in turn implies aristocracy, which is, not bourgeoisie.
I'm assuming they just have, like, the entire kingdom that is the bourgeoisie, and then next door they just have another island. They're like, and fuck those people, am I right?
And there's Plebville over there.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you bring up the bourgeoisie kingdom. I thought that was what the Gao kingdom was.
I think that's what most kingdoms are. I think we found in the One Piece universe that you get enough rich people together and it's just shitheadville, as we found.
I do quite like that all the really rich people in One Piece are just bastards.
I do have a lot of communist friends at uni, so I'm wondering if I should post a screenshot of this being like, is One Piece communist propaganda?
And then just show, like, Law's flashback, and he's like, oh yeah, it is. See, the town got rich, and then they turned into assholes. See, it's proof. It's like, I don't know about that. I think it's like, I feel like if we sent that to Oda, it would be the same thing he got for the Sky PR arc, where it's like, no, this isn't commentary. I just wanted to make people in the sky.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All right. So moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Fairy Tail chapter 535 and 36. So yeah. How
Nothing happened in these chapters.
Nova, you're recapping this, right?
I am, yes. And I've been waiting for this.
So
boy.
For quite a while.
So does this mean that Hovin is recapping Food Wars, or?
Well, okay, I will say that I do have 3 chapters of We Neverland to get through, but I wouldn't mind recapping another series if you guys want.
It's whatever you want. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You can do Promise Neverland because I haven't prepared it.
All right.
Excellent.
Cool beans.
So we start out. For those who are wondering, it is Fairy Tail chapter 535 and chapter 536. So 535 starts with a cover page based off of the Fighting Festival arc. We cut to Lucy in very awful, terrifying, extremely sensually drawn pain as she is apparently burning up inside due to the heat from the book that is Natsu's flame, but Gray helps cool her off in order for her to keep doing it. Natsu is back, shocker of shocks, and starts punching out Zeref because clearly the most interesting battle we can possibly have against somebody who can control time and space and has infinite magic is a punching match. We have a bunch of flashbacks to emotional moments, such as that time Urza shoved Gray and Natsu's faces into her chest, and that time Lucy and Natsu were in bed together for some reason, and I guess Happy was there. And
that other time Lucy was naked.
Natsu has a friendship speech, and then they start fighting. Jalal fights against Acnologia, who I guess realizes he can eat all magic, but it just kind of doesn't work, I guess. The Christina falls into the ocean and crashes, and then Acnologia grabs Jalal and is like, I'll crush you, instead of just eating you, which is what I'd do if I was a dragon. Natsu punches Zeref, which works now for some reason, and as the battle keeps going, Natsu's fairy tale mark glows, and Natsu and Zeref decide to punch each other out. And last week, I did something very bad, guys. I gave Fairy Tail the benefit of the doubt. And I said, there is no way that this is how this battle can end between them. There is no way that Zeref will get defeated 4 chapters after he released his ultimate form and never does anything interesting with infinite magic power. But no, Natsu's fire magic somehow burns up the infinite time and space magic that Zeref has. I'm not sure how, but that's not all, guys, because meanwhile in the ocean, we see that the Christina is being flown by Anna, the most important 10-chapter character in this entire series, who is about to crash into the Christina. But it's worse, because Blue Pegasus has a stupid security function, I guess in case one of them leaves their keys out in the open and somebody tries to steal the Christina, because it can only be flown by a member of the guild. I don't know how you enforce that, but apparently it does. So Achia comes onto the ship and starts flying it, because how best to ruin this moment is by to have a comic relief character.
I actually quite like. No, this is
Even
good. I'm with Kastor.
No, I will get to that. I will fight for this. So Achia and Anna defeat Acnologia. I want to repeat that. Achia and Anna.
I have stuff to say on this as well.
By flying him into the time lapse, where all of them disappear. Meanwhile, Natsu uses a flame of his wild emotions.
Flames of wild emotion.
Whatever the fuck that means, and punches out Zeref, who is lost. And no, I'm not going to give another benefit of the doubt. I'm almost positive he's lost. And then we cut to the water, where all of the different members of Blue Pegasus look up, and then in a half-page spread, the female member of Blue Pegasus turns and says, "We won, didn't we?" In this emotional moment, like, I don't know your name.
It's Jenny.
Even Jenny, yeah. She's the
Jenny,
one who did she did goofy, crazy Alice Nakiri faces when she was flying the ship earlier.
But isn't the only thing she's done is have a stupid striptease match with Mara Jane? Isn't that
that too?
And she wanted to strip in front of Acnologia.
So Natsu fucks off at the end of the chapter, and then Mavis goes over to Zeref, and that is the end.
Okay, so I think there are 2 words that can describe my thoughts towards these chapters. Bloody hell.
I have
Both
3
main villains
It's cool
defeated in one chapter.
Okay, and I will also add on to that. I don't think this is it for Acnologia, just because even Hero likes to show the aftermath of like what happens to the villain. He likes to show like the villain. Like maybe this is giving him too much benefit of the doubt, but I'd expect at least from him to see like the remains of a villain. I don't think just having him vanish like this is how he's going out. Because apart from anything else, we have like 9 chapters left. Like they've confirmed before this one there were going to be 10 chapters of this series left. I reckon Acnologia is going to come back, but
No.
yeah,
10 chapters of swimsuits.
Oh god. But yeah, no.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Speaking of which, can we just all appreciate that all of the scenes of Lucy in pain at the start of this, with her sweating and grimacing, look like they're taking out of a dojin.
Oh, I already got. I went a whole rant about this last week, and I can't do it anymore. I can't get angry about this because I've just sort of decided that, you know what, there's 10 chapters left. Hero's gonna put as much of this in it as he can, and yeah, it diffuses the tension. It makes it so this scene is hilarious rather than horrifying, and it really doesn't make me believe that Lucy is in any pain whatsoever. But you know what? I can't get mad at it anymore. I really can't.
I will.
Yeah.
I remember at one point, like I think it was a couple of weeks ago, one of you guys asked, I wonder how actual fans of Fairy Tail who really care, how they feel about this arc.
Yeah.
And I have been following this podcast that a YouTuber I used to like started, where they talk about Fairy Tail generally quite favorably towards the start.
I can see why you used to like them.
Yeah. No, it's just because they don't put out content anymore. But yeah, no, they were on this podcast, and over the course of this Spriggan arc, you see their opinions slowly dip, and like they did a reaction to this chapter, and just the sheer rage and anger they had of like, we were invested so much in this villain to have him just be brought down in such a ridiculously underwhelming way. Like, it was incredible.
I was laughing by the end.
I
I
can't
was having
see.
that
And like the thing is, like, Mashima's done better example of this. Like, if you look at the final fight of the Tenro arc, right? That was the one on the island where they were fighting Hades. Especially in the Tankoban, where he like stretches out each like attack, because it's a group fight. It's all 5 of them versus him, and each of the members' attack gets its own panel, and it's drawn in a much more. It's not very interesting. Like it's still just pull power out of nowhere, but it's at least drawn in a cool and dynamic way, which this really isn't. It's so boring to look at.
Every time I see Zeref in a panel, it looks like Hero forgot to color him in.
Mm.
I don't get this art style. It's not good. It's not interesting.
I think
it's so phenomenally disappointing. Just because the only example we've seen of Zeref's new power, the only example is when he got destroyed by Natsu, but then instantly reformed itself, which stops working this chapter because Natsu just punches him. There's no difference. There's no reason for this transformation. It literally does nothing.
I don't see how anyone could be disappointed by Fairy Tail. Honestly, I'm just enjoying it right now.
Okay, you're enjoying. Okay, so I'm just thinking because this podcast, right? They gave lots of alternatives of like how this fight could have gone. Like you could have. Like, this arc was built up as a 3-way war between Acnologia, Zeref, and END Natsu, which, like, they could have
one
done
of
a
which
three-way
didn't turn up.
Yeah, they could have done a 3-way fight with that. They could have had all the Dragon Slayers take on Zeref. Like, there's lots of weird, cheesy mashups they could have done with this that would have been cooler than that.
They could have had
could have had
the fucking guild.
They could have had Lucy do something.
Yeah. Like, you know, I have that theory of, she'll give him like a bullshit power up by using the Book of End. They didn't even bother with that.
The power up
she did.
was his burning emotions, guys. Obviously.
God, Zeref has been built up as the main villain of this since the Tower of Heaven arc. That's like what, 10 years ago now?
And
Dear Lord.
And
as this mastermind, this incredibly powerful mastermind, who in his final moments goes, you know what, guys, I'm gonna punch him.
Yeah.
I can't. Oh my god.
So, I'm mostly enjoying these chapters ironically, but I actually did enjoy the second chapter. The duel between Naruto and Zeref, I couldn't give two shits about. I already knew that this was going to be boring, but Ichiya is someone. Yeah, and let's get into.
Okay, let's start.
Let's get
go.
into the controversy. Ichiya is someone I can actually see dying and not coming back, and really, it seems like this could be a satisfying end to this character, even for Jonah, who'll just be happy he's dead.
But here's the thing. So earlier in this arc, when they had to save Natsu and friends from the continent, Luxus and all of them used the Christina to get them out of there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Ichiya happened to stow away on board, and they didn't notice he was there, right?
Wait, so how were they piloting Christina?
That's my thing. It's like,
yeah.
how were they did they just assume, like, because Ichiya wasn't piloting it, clearly, because they would have been like, hey, this thing is steering it on its own. That's a bit odd. So clearly one of them was piloting it. So this bullshit plot point about only a Blue Pegasus member can fly it was just created for this chapter so Ichiya could have a reason to die.
I don't think he'd stowed away. I thought he was giving them a lift. I thought that was how that scene went down.
He was just there, and they didn't notice he was there. Like, it was an actual joke that they didn't notice he was there until he showed up at the end.
Fair enough. I haven't read it recently.
I wish I had your memory, Jonah.
I could be wrong about this, but if that is the case, then I don't know who was piloting the ship, and this plot point about, like, oh, by the way, I already said it in the recap, that's a stupid fucking measure for it to have. Just be like, only Blue Pegasus members can fly this ship. Like,
that is it's a completely bullshit point. My problem, I also have a problem with it, in that it's not required. Because my problem with this scene is that there's no reason for Anna to be here. Ichiya sacrificing himself in a manly way to save everyone is in character and I think kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why Anna's there. I don't give a shit why Anna's there. Why is Anna there? Why do I care?
I can get behind a comedic moment about Ichiya sometimes. I can't go behind a dramatic moment for this guy. No matter what, he looks dumb to me.
Well, I
think that's the kind of tone this series has.
Yes.
Like, it's a really silly and lighthearted, goofy series. And I think this is in keeping with that.
I don't think it has that tone, though. When I look at every other dramatic scene, even the dramatic scene 2 pages later, when we look at all the other characters and their sadness about this, they're not drawn in the same way. And it is that style that Hiro has picked up from Oda, where Hiro does these really weird, off-kilter designs, but unlike Oda, I don't think he can sell them in a dramatic way as much.
I would agree, and in most cases, apart from Ichiyu, because I think he looks reasonably cool. He's a dumb character design, but I think in these scenes, they make him look kind of cool.
Also, I don't really believe in the idea of a comic relief character in the first place. So I
still don't understand why Acnologic can't just blow up the Christina, though. It really feels like...
that's bullshit.
Yeah,
I still don't understand why he's like, this ship is powered by magic. Well, can I eat it? Well, yeah, but I guess you just don't. Because...
I'm the magic dragon. I'm all powerful. How do we defeat you?
I'm the evil dragon.
And then Hiro puts down his pen and goes, "Oh shit, what have I done?"
And he has to have seen this coming. Like the Christina crashed into the ocean and then came back up. Was he really so focused on just holding Jalal and slowly crushing him in his hand that he didn't notice, oh shit, There's an airship flying towards me.
None of this ending makes sense.
Huh.
I never expected it to.
Actually, I
Uh-huh.
think this could, yeah. I found a better way for Acnologia to be defeated. There's this one guy with the huge eyebrows in Lamia scale who's got anti-magic. So they...
Wait, Asta's in this series?
Yeah! He had...
I know who you're talking about.
He
and
had...
I swear to God.
He had a duel against Natsu once, I think.
I remember him. I swear to God.
I'd love that.
Oh my God. It would make more sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like I don't know if that would be worse or better if this guy just popped out of like the ocean, like I was taking a swim and I saw a dragon. I'll come help.
I was on the ship the entire time, guys.
I was at the buffet. I was using your bathroom, and then you guys took off, and I didn't know this.
The power of friendship summoned me here.
I mean,
So Zeref.
it would be kind of neat to remember him and kind of make use of him, maybe in conjunction with other more powerful wizards. But then again, what am I talking about? None of this would make any sense.
So I guess Natsu's hand is all burnt, so that's I mean, I want to think like, oh, that's a big thing, but we've seen Lucy can fix that already, so I don't think that's that big a deal. Zeref is all shirtless and discolored as his original hairstyle comes back.
As he remembers to colour him in.
And then we see Mavis just kind of coming over and being like, hey, what's up? How you been?
We're probably going to get a big emotional moment with those two next chapter.
Which, I mean, this is one of the more interesting relationships, at least in general, in Fairy Tail, so I guess I can be okay with that. But
Well, yeah, interesting.
yeah.
No, bullshit does count under interesting.
Exactly. So, you know what? I'll leave that there. These chapters were exhausting, but that's kind of what Fairy Tail has been in the past few weeks, in the sense that they have to cram so much bullshit.
Yeah. I think
just
your enjoyment, from what I've gathered, your enjoyment of this chapter will really hinge on how much you hinge on you're invested in this. Because if you were super invested in seeing this fight be cool, and like seeing this confrontation, you will be so let down.
If you were invested in seeing what infinite magic and control over time and space looked like,
yes,
then I'm sorry.
No.
You
Guys,
get a punch.
Guys, was this fight worse than the Gremmy Kenpachi fight?
I would like it so much more. I'm sorry. If Zeref was at least that's a cool thing. It's like, oh, I'll call down a... No, wait, he couldn't have called down a meteor, because Urza already cut a meteor in half earlier. It would have been redundant.
Oh, this is a new low.
All right, let's just move on. I can't. I got nothing left.
Guys, so with just One Piece and Fairy Tail, it's been over an hour. Yeah, let's move on to Food Wars.
Yeah, let's speed up.
All right.
All right.
So, am I recapping Food Wars, or is...
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
It's chapter 215 and 216. And
All right.
oh yeah, and chapter 215 is Hovin's favorite chapter. What's its name?
Oh,
No. Oh God, thick is justice.
So,
Thickness is justice.
all right. So,
Oh no.
Souma wins his previous battle, and he gets high fives from everyone except Eren. We get actually a very sweet scene of Rindo comforting Nene afterwards. We get a cover page I'm going to skip, and then we have Julio continuously talking about, oh, how he has to beat a Shiki. He surely does, and he presents his eel in tomato sauce dish, which they eat, they love, they enjoy, and as we talked about last week, usually there's an excuse of some sort for Food Wars to add in some form of fan service, like, oh, it's like we're in the anime Free, so all of our shirts are coming off. Or, oh, it's like I'm Prey, so I'm wearing like a zebra outfit. In this case, it's like, food's like tits, I guess. Fuck it. I couldn't come up with anything. So we made the observation last week of like, oh, if this is what it's like this week, what's it going to be like next week? Hovin made what would have been the very amusing observation that like, oh, what if it's like a butt analogy? And I'm like, they're really going to have a bit of difficulty trying to make this sound like this food tastes like ass, but in a good way. So Julio has not really a flashback because I think we've seen this exact same shot from every single chef in the series, which is them going over a stove like grrr and stuff like that. But then Ishiki reveals that he brought with him a bunch of ingredients from the Polar Star Dorm, going into the next chapter with a much more savory title, Shouldering Polaris, where we see Ishiki and Souma with samurai swords. So, Ishiki talks about how he's used ingredients from all the different Polaris dishes. So all the different specialties like smoke and like the rice and the game meat and stuff like that, which, as he says in a very amusing panel, I stole it with my own two hands. It's meant to be a cool line. His dish is seems to be a cheese risotto with eel on top, which I love eel. I love cheese risotto. Those sound awful together, not gonna lie. But apparently it's delicious, and we get something we see quite a lot in anime, which is like, oh, like it's the equivalent of like, oh, she's being like covered in eels. And I'm like, that just sounds awful. I don't get how that can sound even remotely enjoyable at all. That just sounds genuinely terrible. So, they have this very amusing, like, oh my god moment for the ingredients. Like, there's an ingredient that ties all together. It's garlic. And I know garlic is a bit rare in Japanese cuisine, but that's just very amusing to me.
Yes.
Like, garlic? What the hell? That's insane. It's like, it's not really that crazy, guys. So, Ashiki explains a bunch of stuff about his dish and about how it's all tied together with the flavors of, you know, the people who Julio was insulting. We get a pretty cool shot of Ashiki with a samurai sword surrounded by dragons, which is kind of amazing. Then Julio eats the dish, loves it. We have another eel imagery, and then Ishiki wins the second contest, and that's it. I'm very glad that this was a very quick chapter, because I don't think anyone thought Julio was anything else than like somebody for Ishiki to beat. So I'm glad Food Wars didn't like, you know, drag its feet at all and really went through this quickly.
By the way, speaking of Julio, in the Viz translation, is his name spelled with a J or G-I?
A J.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's
I was
that's kind of strange, since isn't he supposed to be Italian?
Yeah, I was looking for him actually in the cover page, but it's still just Souma, Azami, and Joichiro. So I get the feeling they're just like, you know, we're just not going to change this ever.
Yeah.
Because Julio's not on there.
Yeah. Like these chapters were essentially just like, oh yes, I guess there were other battles going on that I should wrap up to me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the only comment I have is that when they're describing Ishiki's style, which is essentially just like, I've learned traditional Japanese food, but I'm improving it for the future. I got the impression that was essentially Soma's end goal within his last battle. So just like, oh, so what's... Yeah, if Ishiki's already mastered this goal, where's Souma meant to be going?
There's a minute difference. It's not big, but essentially Ishiki is traditional Japanese cuisine, and Souma is more like lower class, like diner Japanese cuisine, like comfort foods. So, I mean, every single person's, you know, specialty essentially boils down to, here's this thing, and here's how I improve it to make it elegant. Like, it's sort of all the same in that sense, but I do agree, at least at least from what my standpoint is, which is admittedly a Western standpoint, quite a few of the styles we've gotten recently do seem very similar.
I'm guessing it's a cultural thing that just doesn't translate. I'm just glad they're not saying everything's a hamburger, to be honest.
It's like, that'd be great if it's just like,
Here's jelly donuts.
Hamburger again. And Hayama's in the corner, it's like, didn't we already do this? It's like, yep, we're doing it again.
It's just a really badly photoshopped hamburger on top of whatever it is.
It's just a hamburger on top of rice.
On top of every rice dish.
It's the same shot of like that person covered in eels, but it's just like Mayor McCheese. like, oh, that's even worse.
I did also enjoy the equal opportunities fan service in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm surprised that he's meant to be from Italy, but they've given him the ugly American nose that in manga is normally depicted for the evil American people.
Well, they had to do that to separate him from sexy half Japanese Aldini, of course.
Well, yeah, he's also half Japanese. It's Shiratsu Julio, right?
I can't find his full name in this chapter. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's meant to be Italian or half Italian. Why they've made him look American?
I'm just.
It's slightly racistly.
I'm just.
I think it's fine. I don't know, but
yeah, I'm just confused.
I'm confused about the spelling of his name.
To? Let us know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, in that full-page thread, that eel looks like it's about to do weird shit to him. The look on its face is not pleasant.
Yeah, I don't get how that's like a pleasant imagery, and then we're like, oh, I'm surrounded by an eel. I'm just like, that sounds horrible. That sounds genuinely awful.
Maybe she likes eels.
Like my food, or my eel will molest you.
Oh god, no.
Okay.
Next manga.
Okay, Black Clover, guys, but no.
Oh dear. All right then.
Who's taking this one?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
My Hero, chapter 138 and 139. It's my recap. I've only prepared half of it, so we'll see how it goes.
All right.
So we move a few minutes back in time as Team Night Eye prepares to raid the Shiehasake base. While the rookies get over the nervousness, Tamaki eats some swordfish. Okay. Overhaul visits who seems to be his sickly bedridden father in anticipation for the hero's attack. The police chief doesn't even manage to read the warrant through the speaker before the party is attacked by a giant figure wearing a plague mask. So Ryukyu, the dragon hero, transforms into just that, and she still manages to be a better drawn dragon than Hero usually draws, though she still has lizard memories, I think. She, Nene, Tsuyu, and Uraraka stay behind to take care of the big guy while the rest storms in. So, I am having Chad taking care of the statues flashback.
Don't worry, Tsuyu Uraraka. You just take out these sand golems.
I wouldn't be surprised if they get a fight later, but they're essentially trying to find a way to split the party so the people at the end of this chapter can turn up.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's have hope.
Or it's latent sexism. Yeah.
We'll Chisaki, meanwhile, prepares to evacuate himself and Eri as he employs his essentially his suicide squad, named the in my translation it's the wait a minute. Huh.
I don't think they have a name.
In ours, at least in the official translation, it's going by the 8 bullets of the Hasai group.
Okay. Yeah. The 8 bullets. Right. In mine, it was the 8 expendables. So yeah.
That's some weird kanji.
I can tell you already.
You got some
these
pensioners.
These designs suck. They're already far better. All these characters, we've seen nothing of them. They're already better than the cast of Suicide Squad.
All right then. So, and that's
Well,
how
one of
we...
them is Scarecrow.
Still better.
Yeah.
So much better.
And that's how we get into the next chapter, where page loading. Right. So there is some more fighting. There's some more fighting. The heroes walk in. That's pretty surprising. That Night Eye himself is pretty much in the vanguard. Right. Then
There's a lot of running through corridors.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry in advance. I accidentally pressed a software and there's going to be a loud startup jingle. Hold on. Okay, dealt with it.
Okay.
okay. So Kirishima berates Overhaul for hiding and leaving it for his subordinates to confront the heroes, because that's not what a real man does or whatever. Then they see a flower pot. All right then. They find a mechanism to open a hidden passageway, and right. Then Centipede and Bubble Girl fight some of the Shihasakai members, and Mirio uses his quirk to move between the walls to investigate. All right, and then we get a very nice full-page spread of Deku and Kirishima using the Shoot Sullen Red Gauntlet to punch down the wall. Then I'm very prepared. Then Tamaki has a crisis. He gets depressed, but Mirio tells him that's not gonna happen. You are Sun Eater. You have to go on ahead. And finally we three of the Suicide Squad members confront Fat Gum's group, but Tamaki stays to fight with them, to let the others escape. Oh, and we find out that Mirio had a ponytail when he was younger. Cool.
All right.
So, there's a lot of really good things in this chapter. It also continues with my running joke, which I will beat into the ground until it's never funny again, which is that there's just no light in the Shihasakai base. Because we see another example of that this chapter, where they open up the doorway to the enemy base, and it's just a dark room with three of the people jumping out saying like, "Oh, it's intruders." And I like to think that's legitimately how security goes, which is every time you see light, run toward it and assume someone's infiltrating the base. Which is like, that door's opening, light, a villain, no, not a villain, a good guy, run over like, no, I'm the janitor.
So you might say that it's not only Suicide Squad but also Fantastic.
It's every single superhero film that isn't made by Marvel, where everything's just like dark and you can't see what's going on all the time.
Yeah, it is quite funny.
Yeah, the chapter's fun though. I like the fact that we seem to that there's this villain who's like within the walls, and like the shots of him in the shadows smiling. It's cool and it's creepy. I like it quite a bit.
Reminds me a lot of Pika's Devil Fruit from One Piece.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Shifting up the battlefield.
I like that we're gonna have Tamaki going forward and using his quirk against these villains. I like that even in that shot you can see that he's still, he's still sweating. He's still fearful. Yeah. We're gonna get a fight from Scarecrow, dude with almost Bane mask, and then that guy from the Cats volleyball team from Haikyuu. So I'm gonna look forward to these guys.
Yeah, I've been reading through Haikyuu, and I just read through the first fight with the cats.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm trying to get through that manga too. It's quite good.
I do have a question.
Yep.
In this chapter, we see the sidekicks of the Night Agency in action, and Centipede is terrifying because I think his body can just turn into centipedes, and I can only imagine what he was like as a young child, like essentially out of a horror movie. We also see Bubble Girl. What the hell does Bubble Girl do? I don't get.
I think she uses bubbles to distract him and then smacks him. Or
I think that's it.
I'd agree if that wasn't the lamest quirk in the entire goddamn world.
I'm wondering if
we have another guy in the previous chapter who throws leaves as his power.
And which is the awesomest quirk in the manga.
I think I'd be okay with this as long as maybe the point they're going for, and they maybe develop a bit more later, is that she has a really crap quirk, but she just really does her best to use it in the most efficient way she can.
Oh, that would be awesome. But
yeah.
I'm just going into this having read a bit of JoJo's 9, where they literally make a point in that Soft and Wet, whose only stand ability is essentially
Wait,
create.
You mean 8 or 9?
I can't remember. Then
There's
8 then.
Yes.
I thought Seal Ball Run was 8. My mistake.
No, that's 7.
Yeah, but no. Where Soft and Wet, the stand power is that I make bubbles. They can steal something from somewhere, and when they burst, they put it back out. And they make a point that it's the worst, essentially one of the most useless stand abilities in the entire world. And I want to, this is like I make bubbles, but they don't do anything else apparently.
Yeah. It's some exciting chapters. I like that things are moving quickly. The point was already stated that hopefully Suyu, Uraraka, Nene, all of them will still get fights.
Yeah, Jesus, yes please.
Because I would be really disappointed if it's hey, here's all 3 female characters in this arc, and they're outside.
4.
Yeah. Especially because we look to be setting up the first fights in this arc look to be between Sunita and Miria. Sunita's squaring up for a fight, and Miria squaring up for a fight. So if the girl of the big 3 is the one that's... I would be amazed if the next fight wasn't Twirly Girl from the big 3 starting her fight.
Yeah.
Or Japanese latent sexism. One of the two.
Also,
preferably the former.
Yeah, also,
preferably.
It is confirmed that Mirio's costume has... it's been laced essentially with his own hair. So
that was a nice touch.
Yeah, so it can travel through walls with him, but it is very amusing to me because I have to wonder so just to be clear, nobody ever suggested hey, do you want me to do that with your school uniform too? Nah. How about your gym uniform? Nah. Anything? Don't worry about it.
I can put it past it because that sounds like a weird, a thing you wouldn't think of trying originally.
Oh, okay, so that's where he lost his ponytail.
I was about to say, and that also explains where his ponytail went.
Yeah. But he also takes off his mask as well. He's there's a wall, I'll take a look, takes off mask. It's why? Was that the thing that, is it only his mask who can't pass through the walls? 'Cause he never gets it back. No, wait, he does. I'm just not sure why he keeps taking it off. I'm well, why do you even have it then?
That is a good point.
I don't know.
Yeah, the mask keeps coming off and on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just like the three guys turning up here. We're about to get Sun Eater's fight, but a Razorhead's also in that room along with two other pros.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, it's just like, how are we going to set this up so that the non-pro heroes get a fight? Because I've just seen the anime where a Razorhead beats the shit out of an entire group of people continuously.
I think
Yeah.
it's a classic shonen trope of just like, no, you guys go on ahead so we don't waste time. I'll stay here. But I mean,
Oh yeah. Speaking of the anime, next week they're going to do the Todoroki Deku fight.
Yeah.
Final,
Ooh, nice.
Which is, I've been waiting for them to animate that since the damn thing started. So
Yeah,
pretty excited for that.
And now,
And more importantly, the Tetsu Kirishima fight.
Oh, that was great.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. They've already done the Bakugo versus Uraraka fight, and Twitter's exploding on that.
Oh yeah, lots of retweets from me on that as well.
Oh,
Uh,
what aspect? Because I remember that being great.
They just really they thought they're like mostly people being really, really huge on Uraraka and thinking that she's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Good chapters.
All right. Can I quickly make a request here that we do both the series that I'm covering, because this seems to be running a bit longer than I thought it would, and I'd like to get them out of the way so that I can, because there is a thing I'm going to later this evening.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no
that's
problem.
All right. So I guess first is Promised Neverland, which so basically the last chapter we were on, the children seem to have disappeared, and in chapter 39 we discover that they have made their way down a hole with a bunch of there's an opening in a bunch of vines, and the children have all gone through there, but basically climbed down through there into this pitch black cavern, and it's a really beautifully drawn location, sort of withered. I was saying it reminds me a lot of the artist Chris Riddell, who does a lot of illustrations for sort of young adults and children's books. I think he's done a few Terry Pratchett ones. And at first they're just exploring, they're checking out all of these glowing plants, and then they look up and they notice that there are dead animals hanging down from the ceiling. And it becomes apparent to them that they are in a trap, that these plants are carnivorous and trying to eat them up. But then Emma has the realization that this is very reminiscent of something she had in the adventure novel from Minerva. So she gets that out, and in chapter 40, is that the one? Sorry,
Yeah.
Chapter 40,
In chapter 40, she actually applies what's in that, where basically they are described as snakes in the novel. It's a fictitious story where where he has to. Sorry, I'm doing what Wensleydale did earlier.
Sorry.
Yeah, where they had to let in. It's revealed later on in the chapter that by opening up the roof, they fight off the snakes, and by doing this in this chapter, they are able to let the cold air in and and send the plants back. And I just skimmed over a bunch of stuff, so let me just go through that. Also, at the start of the chapter, we see the demons gearing up to find them. It's a really cool panel. They look like these hounds of hell, these horribly withered sort of coils of muscle with sharp, jagged teeth and two eyes, but not alongside each other. They're vertical eyes. I'm looking forward to seeing what they get up to.
Let's just call them Nomu.
Yeah, the Nomu. And on top of this, Emma also realizes that the plants cannot find them as long as they do not touch them physically. And she demonstrates to the kids who are all panicking. Her and Ray demonstrate to them to help them calm down and motivate them to climb up and find their way to the ceiling. so they can sort out the problem. Sorry for that incredibly non-linear recap of those chapters, but I think I've covered everything.
Don't worry, you did better than me.
Yes, and yeah, I thought these chapters were really neat. I particularly loved the first one, the sense of exploration and really fleshing out this setting. Because Nova did express some concerns a couple of weeks ago about it turning into a bit of a generic survival manga. But I think if they keep the focus on making it very otherworldly and different and showing us all of the aspects of this setting that we aren't familiar with, it could lead to some really cool, neat stuff like we got in these chapters.
And I want to point out, I think it's a more interesting take on that, with the fantasy setting that, well, not outright fantasy, but it's very fantastical in that sense, and also the fact that William Minerva's book is going to be what's guiding them through there. That's all very good. That said, it is this this psychological battle against the elements, against the world, is still less interesting than the psychological battle against Mom. I guess. Which is it's unfortunate, but I can't, I can't harp too much against it. I think that for where the series is going, this is still very good. This is still very entertaining, and I like all of it quite a bit. It's a minor gripe that I have. I suppose.
I could see that.
I might be the negative voice here because I did not care for these chapters very much. It was just, they had nothing of what I enjoyed from Promised Neverland previously, which was the logic puzzles, here's the information, can you figure out where this is going? And admittedly, that started in the escape, that started to be played with a bit too much. But in this one, where it's just like, here's this terrible creature, and it's like, and the protagonists already know the answer, whereas the audience is left in the dark, which is a terrible narrative style. But it's just like there was never any tension here because they'd already read the story before, so they knew how to get out. But we didn't know what the story was, so we were just following on as they did something and then explained why because the story said so. And I think it would have been a lot interesting is if we'd been told the story beforehand, and then they applied, the audience knew the story, and then we applied the kids applied what they knew about the story to the situation, and then it got them out, and we could see the logic they went through. Instead of and then we got out because the book told us to. It's like, couldn't you have told us that beforehand? That would have been interesting.
I've got two main worries about this. So while I did enjoy these as good chapters, although just like Nova said, not on par with the farm stuff before. I have two worries. Now, firstly, that I tend to see now what would maybe what we could maybe call a Promised Neverland cliche, that it tends to end some chapters such as chapter 38 on cliffhangers that later are revealed not to really follow through with the terror of them, I guess. Secondly, that we currently have a large cast of characters with essentially the same history, and I'm wondering what story opportunities we might have for them, other than being a flock of Emma and Ray's sheep that just follow them around. Because nowadays we don't even see that much from Don and Gilda. I don't know, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but I'm wondering how Kai Shirai manages not to make that ensemble cast superfluous.
And my other...
Yeah, I think they do. I think the side kids do need some more individuality to them. At least a few of them, at the very least.
Yeah, and the other slight issue is that because of the series that it is, every single chapter, and I know technically, yes, every single manga chapter does have to end on a cliffhanger anyway, but it's a very different kind of cliffhanger that Promised Neverland chapters seem to end on, which is like, oh, what's this? And happens every single time. And the ending one for chapter 40 is very bizarre. At least in the sense that, like, Emma's like, oh, what's that? Turns around, black panel of just, nothing there. I'm like, that's a very bizarre cliffhanger, but okay.
Yeah, that is odd. I think my overall take on these chapters, or the direction the story is going so far, is it's something different to what we had before. It isn't as good, but for the time being, I'm enjoying it. I'm still getting into it a lot just because I like seeing this setting and these sorts of designs and where it's going with the demons. Although I would like a return to something more along the lines of what we had beforehand with the dynamic with Mom.
Yeah, I think I'll have to just kind of accept and just get over the tendency to overuse cliffhangers a lot to enjoy this story on the same level, because otherwise it's a really good story.
Yeah, I get series that have essentially style changes, like after an arc or so. Stuff like Medaka Box is famous for it. But I'll see where it goes. But currently not my thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So what's the next one you're
the next one is We Never Learn.
Excellent.
Okay, so I can see how quickly I can bang these out. So problem.
Phrasing.
You sure you don't want to go to Black Clover to get that rant out of the way?
I haven't read it, so.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear.
Sorry, it's just like. I don't know if I'm going to get dinner if I don't get through these.
No, let's go. Let's go through it.
Okay, so basically, first chapter is we introduced to the president of the science club and second in science to Ogata, Sawaka Sekijo, and she's very competitive with Ogata, and she's trying to kind of out Ogata as having feelings for Yuiga, of him being like a distraction from studies, and that they want to be together. And Ogata does not recognize this at all. She doesn't see this. So basically, this Sejiko, sorry, I keep calling her Sejiko, Sekijo follows them around all day, trying to get some dirt on them. And eventually we do find out that she wants to go to the same school as Ogata and is just trying to she likes being damn it. Yeah, she wants to go to the same school, but if Ogata goes to the liberal arts school, they can't be on the same program. So that is her concern with that. Then eventually is it? Yeah. Yeah. But basically, we see that so Ogata comes back and she's done some work for Yuiga, because he's tutoring her, and he gives her a head pat, and she very noticeably blushes at this. And Sekijo notices this and is like, maybe Ogata does have feelings for him and just isn't consciously aware of them, which is something that we'll get to later on. And then we move on to this week's first chapter, chapter 13, and it's Sports Day. And Takemoto forgot to bring a bra. So she's...
Oh,
so,
no.
Oh, dear.
And the
hijinks
prom
ensue.
tomorrow.
So she
What
has to go through all
wacky
of sport-
hijinks may ensue now?
So we get to see her with her blushy, embarrassed face throughout all of it, throughout all of the sports day and all of the sporting events. And then finally we get to basketball, and she's just kind of freezing up, sort of clutching the ball close, trying not to let anyone notice. And then eventually, like, Yuiga just kind of goes, hey, come on, what's going on? You're usually such a force of nature with these sorts of things. You're usually like, you're usually damn it, you usually shine so much. And she hears this and misinterprets this as him confessing how much he loves her. He loves her when she's being good at sports. And then she tries really hard, but slams into him, and we get a gag where he tries to reassure her, but it doesn't work. Hardy, bloody ha. Next chapter is is basically Ogata trying to figure out whether she does have feelings for him or not, and sort of trying to sort of pass off that she doesn't, essentially. And eventually she goes out in the rain. God damn it. Jesus, sorry, I'm not on good form this week, guys.
That's okay.
Yeah, no, she gets lost in the rain, and Yuiga comes to find her, and she's about to climb down and falls on top of him, and they accidentally kiss. So we have that cliche done and out of the way. Yeah.
Oh,
It was.
They don't kiss though. That's
They
not
do.
a kiss. If you if
they
you
kinda
fall on
do.
top of somebody, that's your teeth hitting each other. That's not a kiss. That's insanely painful.
I was gonna say, this looks. I know we don't see the ending of it. It looks horribly unpleasant. It's like,
Yeah.
isn't
I mean,
the
they're
next panel
blushing.
Isn't the next panel gonna be like
Ow.
her head like smashing Yuega's face into the ground? It's like, I feel like that kills any romantic tension.
Yeah, the best they're about to get concussion.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
so shall we do this chapter by chapter? Because I think there's a point in
Okay.
the first
Yeah.
one, the question of, do we think New Science Girl is romantically interested in Short Science Girl?
I don't really.
No.
Science girl.
I don't really care about that. But I love this chapter for Yuiga being hilarious. I love that every single answer to the question he gives to the question she asks him is essentially related to being economical.
Being poor.
Yeah, being poor.
Yeah, and I also enjoyed the fact that halfway through he's suddenly realizing, hang on, is this girl hitting on me? I've never seen this before. Like, he's in that moment he's insanely relatable to like
Yeah.
like socially awkward teenage boys,
Yeah.
which is one of the sections of We Neverland that I like, but we'll get onto that later.
This is refreshing
Yeah.
after whatever happened in that accidental groping during Lights Out chapter.
Oh my
I
word.
still don't know what happened there. In my head, it doesn't seem like, the only thing I can think of in my head is that they groped each other and blamed him accidentally.
Yes,
Like, they
Can
were
we-
both reaching
Or
for
maybe
each
he
other.
accidentally groped
Let's
them
talk
both. I
about the
don't know.
weird fanservice in these chapters. Let's not go back to.
yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of weird
Yeah.
things that related to Yuiga,
Okay.
and I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump chapter a bit, but in my translation in chapter 13, he says at the end, "My sister has that same feeling at home, so don't worry about it."
What it's translated to, to be slightly fair, what it's translated to is "my sister goes around like that at home too. It's not that big a deal."
Yeah,
Oh.
he's trying. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
as creepy.
It's just him being dense. It's not portrayed.
Yeah,
Like,
it's him trying to reassure her and not understanding that. It's like you don't understand. Yeah, he doesn't understand that all the other girls are also socially awkward and terrified of being, and want him to like.
and
to
like the
them.
best thing to do would just to be like to pretend it didn't happen.
Yes, or to be like,
Yeah.
it's okay, we'll move on now. The best thing to do is be grown up, and these are teenagers, so they can't.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I still don't understand, and I know it happens in every single harem series, but I'm always there just like, I mean, the rain's not acid. I don't get why you can't just walk. You're gonna get wet. That's not that big a deal. I don't really.
Giggity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just a weird Japanese romantic thing of the boy comes to collect you in the rain.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's really just so much of a case of like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're in the mountains. Survival of the fittest, lady. Just
Okay.
like deal with
Okay,
it.
I've touched on this before, but like, I do want to bring up an annoyance I have with the prevalence of fan service in this series and how much it relies on it, because I don't think it needs to. Because
No.
see, like, there is a certain gland within all otaku called the moe gland, where they see
Yeah, I had that
something-
surgically removed.
I'm afraid mine is.
I'm allergic to mine.
Is well and truly working. But it's when they see something cute and adorable, and they just want to protect it, and they just go, "Aww," and my moe gland kicked in that one chapter where like she pats him, he gives her a pat on the head, and she blushes. Like, I couldn't help but just like my immediate reaction was just go, "Aww," and that's what this series' appeal is to me. It's not like, oh, I've lost my bra, I don't, and then I'm gonna push up against him accidentally. Like, I don't. That stuff seems completely unnecessary to me, and it kind of pulls me out of it. And this series is meant to be kind of cute and charming, and that's what its appeal is. That's what I feel is strong about it. So when it tries to be fan servicey and cloying like that and kind of skeevy, it doesn't work for me at all.
I have like this series has a very different appeal to me, mostly because at best I just the moe stuff is just passes over me. At worst, I find it creepy. But to me, this series is great when it's being absurdly relatable to being naive teenagers and showing it from both sides. That while Yuiga is being a naive teenage boy, all the girls are having exactly the same problems and misinterpreting the things he says just as much as he's misinterpreting the things they say.
Yeah.
And that's what I like.
And- And as a full
I am-
disclaimer, it can get creepy with that kind of stuff as well, like the belly button stuff.
Oh,
in
the
that
belly
chapter
button
earlier.
stuff is not a thing that happens. That which moves me on to like this is a problem of the things
Like,
I like and the
that-
things I don't like.
That left me cold.
Yeah. So, like the stuff I like is the stuff where Yuiga is realizing a girl is hitting on him after 5 minutes of her hitting on him and doesn't know what the fuck to do. I didn't mind the I forgot my bra episode.
Well, she wasn't
Big
actually
Star
hitting on him.
She was faux hitting on him to get a lead out of short science girl.
I mean,
And so then there's the stuff where it's just like a girl forgets her bra on a sports day, and it's like that is a problem. It's not really worth an entire chapter, but I can see that being a problem. But then you get the shit, which is not Yugita being a teenage boy, but being Yugita being essentially this now speak as society, because there's a line in chapter 14 where he meets her in the woods, and the first thing he says to her is, "Why are you sitting like that? You should stop because people will be able to see up your skirt." No teenage boy would ever say that to a girl, because one, it implies you were looking up her skirt, and two, that's that would not be like that's a sort of thing about society, a societal thing of hey, don't do that because, like, generally don't show. Yeah, it's like don't let boys see up your skirt, so don't sit like that. That'd be like something a parent would say.
Yeah,
Or a teacher. It's just like that's not relatable, and that's be like, oh, let's shame these
and
girls
it's
by
the weirdest
society.
thing is how she doesn't even react to it.
I
Like,
know.
it's not like she gets angry. It's like, shut up, like, which would be the obvious response to put there. But yeah,
that's why I put the belly thing in as well. It's just like that is not a thing that a teenage boy or girl would ever do, but it's the idea of touch my belly because boys find that attractive, and it's like, do they?
I know a few that do, but
Would they find that situation attractive?
I have my issues with the whole moe phenomenon and how I'm not going to get into it here. Probably it would turn the comments of this video into like a blood war.
What comments?
We would get killed.
Good point. But so I'm not going to go into my thoughts about that.
I've warmed on it when used appropriately.
Yeah, it's not a subject I'm going to get into, even though I have very strong opinions of it. But I guess what I will say is that I think that We Never Learn is not my least favorite. It doesn't have the things that I normally hate from most harem series. Like, my least favorite thing in, like, a harem series, and it happens all the time, is just like, oh, a wacky misunderstanding that results in the main character looking like a perv and all the female characters beating the shit out of him. Derp, de derp, de derp. It just happens every single chapter. It hasn't happened in here yet, but We Never Learn is slowly turning into a bit more of a straightforward harem, which is unfortunate because Nisekoi was most interesting when it wasn't that. And I think that to survive in Shonen Jump, you keep having to mix in those elements, which is unfortunate because I think there's some decent writing in this series. I think there's some decent characters. I think there's some nice art, but I'm not that into it.
I was a little more positive on this series, but especially these last two chapters, I'm starting to get very tired of the harem bollocks.
I actually, I enjoy the moments of comedy I get because what appeals to me the most in We Never Learn is the comedy, especially when revolving around Yuiga being poor. Well, we get a little bit of this in the last chapter where on this trip he immediately starts to search for edible plants.
It is amusing.
Like,
we might have to move on though, because we've been on We Never Learn for a while.
Just the one thing I brought up at the start we never answered. Do we think there's the lesbian love interest here?
There might
As of
be.
right now,
I don't think it's going to be focused upon.
Nah, I just found it a nice. I just found it a nice notion that through the entire thing, her entire reasoning for like them being together is that she wants to go to the same university you do. At the end of it, they give out that but now I need to go to the same university that she is.
Well,
yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
I would be more inclined to say that we have a confirmed lesbian character in Black Clover, by which I mean Soul.
Oh, we definitely have.
Who is fucking creepy?
So.
All right.
Are we moving on to that series?
I might have to move to leave now really quickly.
No problem.
Sorry for the very hackneyed recap.
It's all good. Have a good one, mate.
Don't worry, I do that all the time, so don't worry.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot. See ya.
Yeah. Cheers.
See ya.
Cheers.
Okay.
Do we want to move on to Dr. Stone before that, and then get into the huge rant you both have?
We can get through Dr. Stone pretty quickly. So.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like stuff happened and it was cool stuff, but I think we all agree on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one thing I'm not big on, but we'll get to that. So, am I recapping this one?
This will be interesting. Yeah.
All right.
We might have a debate after all, because I think I can guess what it might be.
Yeah. So, in the chapter, we find that Senku comes back to see Taiju's presumably dead body, and then in his anger lifts up the stone as if to attack Tsukasa, but it's revealed that Taiju has in fact kept his humanity. So Yuzuriya throws the big thing of gunpowder over at Tsukasa, and we find out that Tsukasa's weakness was that he was a sexist asshole who assumed that Yuzuriya wouldn't be able to do anything because she was female. There's some other stuff there, but I'm not going to get into that. I went on a slight rant about it last week, and even though the episode's not there, I don't really need to get into it again.
Oh yeah. I would be interested in
I have
you
stuff
delving into
to
that.
say on that, so yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that, but there is another chapter, because as we find out in the next chapter, Yuzuriya and Taiju did jack shit, because
Yes, why?
because Tsukasa is absolutely, completely, doesn't even have smoke residue on his skin fine.
And they
So-
even... Yeah.
Yes, so they run away with Senku. They see that there's a bit of the petrified stone at the back of his neck. They take it off, it shatters, and as the rain starts to fall, they beg Senku to wake up as we go into a flashback about what happened when Senku woke up, presumably detailing the months before Taiju woke up and when he was the only human alive on the planet. Yep.
Do we have anything we want to talk about before we get to the sexism?
Yes. I know it shouldn't have. I know there's plenty of people very happy about this. I'm very angry that Tsukasa doesn't even have a scratch on him.
I was very pissed, yes.
It's just like, at least, like, no, you don't have to kill him, but at least have him like a scar or something. Have it like, oh, my arm, or like, oh, I'm injured in some minute way. The fact that there's just nothing really makes this character seem a little too invincible to me.
Especially because they even mentioned in chapter how Taiju essentially gave a execution line to finish the last chapter. And then they just skate over and just like, hang on. Okay. Why did he say that then? Why was this the end?
Yeah, I don't... Even the way you see it in the last chapter, where it looks like the explosion is very, very close to him, it seems unrealistic, and it's unfortunate to me.
Yeah.
I think the flashback with Senku could be kind of cool, though I'm wondering whether or not... There's still a debate as to whether Senku is going to be okay or not. I'm not sure.
I think he's definitely alive, because I think I can see why. Because he did the very clever thing where he made he tricked lion killing guy to kill him in a very specific Tsukasa into killing him in a very specific way that he knew he could survive, because his vertebrae was still slightly fused. So with the nitric acid, it repaired it, so it would repair the damage and so on and so forth. It was very clever.
Yeah. As for the first chapter, what I will say about it, the beginning is amazing. When we see Tsukasa inserted into all these scenes from the past, sort of think about what might have been if he had met them earlier, and then seeing the doll doll along with the other three, and it fading away as he's presumably murdered Senku, is incredible. That said, I'm not quite sure how to take the Yuzuriya moment, because on the one hand, it's kind of like, well, Tsukasa was kind of a shithead for thinking this, but at the same time, it's also kind of like implying just like, well, on a primal level, like, guys have to be the protectors, and it's like, was that even how it was in caveman society?
Okay, no. I don't want to make... Okay. I've got friends who have studied, like, human evolution and shit, but I personally haven't, so I don't want to speak with authority on this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not get into that section.
Yeah, but even so, I don't like it. I don't like it that much. I'm glad that Yuzuriya got to do something. I think it's kind of cool, but everything surrounding her character has just been poorly handled for the most part, and
I'd agree with that.
It's unfortunate.
Shall I give my interpretation of that section? Because I love that entire chapter.
Sure.
Because I thought it set up Tsukasa to be an amazing villain who doesn't realize he's a villain.
Yes.
Because the entire flashback of how we could have been friends, because he doesn't realize the fact that, no, he is a murderer who lives through violence. At no point could they realistically have been friends. And then he kills Senku, and so that section was great. But then I'm moving on to the bit where he underestimates Yuzuriha because sexism. I don't mind a villain's flaw being sexism and them exploiting it. In a better, but written slightly better, that idea can be quite empowering.
I don't mind that, but I don't think it's written as objectively. Like, it's sort of giving Tsukasa's idea. It's not presented as like, oh, Tsukasa was sexist. Here's why. It's like, oh, Tsukasa had this belief, and maybe the belief's correct because on the primal level he wasn't wrong. But science kind of evens it out. So I don't think it's handled perfectly.
I think it's it's gone. Sorry, Cheddar.
I kind of. Okay, it's maybe a product of me living in a hyper-conservative country where I hear sexism on a daily basis, and nobody really thinks it's out of the ordinary. But when I first read this chapter, I kind of found it cathartic, really. I kind of found it a very nice feminist message. So I'm kind of surprised to see you interpreting it otherwise. But yeah,
I don't think I'm interpreting it otherwise.
I guess
I think you are slightly. I think I think the three of us came up with different reactions to this.
Yeah, I guess I'm just I just think it's nice by comparison to what we can see in manga, and I kind of find science makes all things equal a bit of an inspirational quote.
Yeah.
Especially since the main protagonist very much stand for science, while the current villain is opposing it.
Set in the past.
Yeah. So this, in a way, this kind of sends a very nice message.
Yeah.
That's what I interpret it.
I think we're looking for a nice message where it almost exists.
And
but
I think
the way
yeah.
I think that the way it's handled is not as perfect and as streamlined as you guys might be interpreting it to be.
And,
I think we're looking for it here.
And I think you're looking for the problem.
I don't think so.
But it's interpretations. My slight problem with this is that it's a very nice message, and I agree it's empowering. It does bring up the fact that as I've mentioned before now, Yuzuriha girl, yes,
Yuzuriha. Never mind.
Yuzuriha isn't. The problem that this brings up is that in the manga so far, Yuzuriha really hasn't had a point, and so that while the mangaka is trying to say that empower women, sexism is bad, I can point to a couple of scenes where he's guilty of sexism himself, and this kind of brings it into light.
Yeah.
Especially that scene where she's randomly serving them after showing like they're all perfectly capable of cooking and serving themselves.
And it's a weird moment as well, because when the son, like, on some primal level, he wasn't wrong, especially in this back to basis stone world like this one. It's like, no, because we've gone so much further than the whole. Like, if that was Tsukasa's mind, I'd agree with you, but this isn't. This is like objective narration from the series.
It's in Tsukasa's mind.
It's not.
Everything's about no. In his mind, it's based on strength and height and muscle density and body mass and everything. I don't want to get into this debate because we all get shouted down on YouTube.
Okay, but I'm just saying I don't think
we don't have comments.
Is coming out of nowhere.
That is also a point. No one listens to us. I think it's more interesting that all three of us came off with different interpretations on this spectrum. And I think it says quite a lot about the different cultures we grew up in, to be honest.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense because Nova lives in the most liberal country out of the three of us, and I'm the opposite.
And England is rather. We like to think of ourselves as liberal. We have a lot of conservative roots.
Yeah, you're a bit in the middle, I guess.
Interesting. Yeah. Imagine how comparatively strongly feminist this chapter would be compared to Fairy Tale.
Yeah.
Interesting. We can all agree was bad.
Eh?
Should we move on to some chapters where we can all agree and have a rant on the same thing?
All right then. Black Clover chapter lost. Chapter 110. The Hot Springs episode.
So, are we? I know we've been doing double chapters. Are we doing?
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's two chapters
and 111.
110 and 111,
yeah.
And they are very, very separate entities in that, I have problems with both, but they're entirely different problems. So do we want to do 110 then 111?
Sure.
Okay.
So chapter 110 is essentially Asta trying to figure out how to solve the problem of I have no magic for the 10,000th time. Melia essentially tells him that essentially was like, I invited you here because you had potential. I was wrong. Go home. And Asta tries to figure out what he can do. And he says, I've got strength. I've got key detection. I've got magic swords. Hey, I should tap into that demon energy. How did I tap into that demon energy beforehand? Oh, I was near death. Maybe I should kill myself. Which I think is quite a nice scene because he looks at the magma and I think is possibly considering it before realizing that no, that's a really dumb idea. He then realizes that I can use ki, this bullshit thing that magically solves all my problems, and if I pass this around my body and make it flow, I might just be able to tap into. Oh no, look, I'm a demon now, and magically flies up the mountain with no more troubles. And nearly overtakes Yuno, gets to the top with absolutely no trouble because he can now control his demon power, and Melia Leona essentially punches him out of it. And then they're at the top when they can go to the hot spring. This chapter essentially proves to me that if you want to have a moment where a powerful moment where a hero gains a power up over something that was originally a problem for them, it has to be earned.
It's too fast and it's not interesting. I feel like it's incredibly quick after it's already been revealed. There's not really that much training involved in.
There is no. Yeah.
It's just like, maybe this will work. Oh, it works because of ki, which is just a bullshit thing that's never really been explained properly. It's just kind of something he can use, and he now has the ability to fly, which really starts taking away from the whole Asta has no magic thing. It's like, he has no magic except he can fly.
Asta has no magic apart from when he has magic.
Apart from when he has all these powers. He then destroys a monster they were fighting. Leo names the form Black Asta, which is a remarkably lame name for it. And he almost beats Yuno, making it to the top, almost goes into the lava. Lion Lady saves him, and then says, okay, now go into the hot spring. And last week I gave this chapter a little less flack, because I was like, well, maybe we'll see what Noelle and Leo are doing. Turns out we don't.
Because,
Black Asta. Oh god. Now I'm imagine every single one of his line just put through the Ebonics translator.
Oh no.
We're not doing that.
No, we're
It's
not.
it's not even
Because-
in the bonus episode. We are never doing that. But
The rest of this
yeah, it's very irritating. Just the fact that like, if you're not a huge fan of Asta, Black Clover's is very impenetrable series a lot of the time, in the sense
Not
that
yet.
it's so that
It's-
everything. Sorry.
No, go on. I've got a different point. You finish yours.
Oh, okay. It's just that everything has to be based entirely around him, and that Noel's story and Leo's story and all these other characters who are here are really just window dressing for Asta getting through another roadblock that I didn't really realize was a roadblock for him. Like, it's just kind of. And I know Black Clover has this breakneck pace that's just kind of like it goes through things faster and faster and faster and faster and faster every single time. But particularly this chapter, I think we saw the big issue, which isn't just that tension in the series is very hard to get, because usually every time conflict is put into a chapter, it's resolved at the end of that chapter. But the fact that long-running storylines, like maybe Asta mastering this ability, and no, he hasn't mastered it yet. I'll say that right now. He hasn't fully mastered it. But it really does seem to me like it's too fast, and the revelation of how to master it was not interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
My point is similar. It's just like it's the fast pace of Black Clover. This chapter shows me why it's fundamentally flawed, because I can compare this entire chapter rather closely, because I think I know exactly where this chapter came from, to the Jiraiya training arc in Naruto, where when training for a tournament, Naruto essentially partly trains how to control the nine-tailed fox after releasing it and nearly having it run loose. And in that, you have the entire thing where, first of all, he learns that he can't instantly control it and has to learn the frog summoning. But during that, learns how to start tapping into it, to start controlling it. And then you get the climax with his fight in Neji, where he actually has an emotional breakthrough and to actually learning how to control this. And that's over volumes, and it's really powerful. This is over a chapter, and it's terrible.
And it's also not helped by the chapter after that, where we find out that really the only reason Noel was here was for this fan service moment, which I call.
Starting, yes.
Yeah, I did
Moving-
call this. Do we want to do the recap, or do we just? There's
Yes.
nothing to recap. They go in the
No,
hot.
there is. I have a very detailed recap, and it's very
Okay,
important I
bring it on.
get through this with no interruptions, because it's very. I'm not entirely sure you got exactly what happened in this chapter.
Okay.
Because
Maybe I missed some like rich undercurrent about the Taiwanese-Chinese conflict.
we take the piss. There are a couple of interesting points in this chapter. Most of them are terrible, but there are a couple of interesting ones. So this chapter starts off with everyone getting in the hot spring, and second, Blue Rose Girl showing that she has earth magic and making 2 sections of the hot springs for boys and girls, which I quite like because it shows that Melia Leona really didn't give a shit about mixed bathing. We start off with the Black Rose Girl talking to Noelle, and where we learn that all the men in the Black Rose Guild are essentially treated as slaves, which we ignore, which we don't ignore, but because Noelle says that sounds like a good idea, or at least thinks it. So that's creepy. We then have the Black Rose captain imagining that Yami naked and passing out in the hot springs. So she is a great independent female character.
And then Sol says, okay, no interruptions.
And then we actually get the interesting bit, which is where Melia Leona is talking to Noelle about her mother, which is honestly the first time we've heard about Noelle's mother, despite in detail, because we just know she was really important to her. We find out she was a very strong mage, known specifically for her mana control, the thing that Noelle is the worst at. And it also seems to imply, judging on what the rest of her family's power is, she had some sort of molten metal magic, which looks really cool. And so they go through the entire thing of your mother was great, but it's now your job to surpass her. You've got your flaws, but work harder, keep moving, surpass her. And Noelle takes this to heart. It's a really heartwarming moment. We then move to the other motivational speech in this chapter, which is Yami trying to convince all the men to peep on the girls. And it's treated with about the same weight because he deals with Yuno and Leo and gives motivational instructions telling them, especially Leo, to surpass his brother by peeping on girls. And then we find out that Aster is still creepily in love with his sister mother. Okay, now let's talk about the art.
It would be good character development if it didn't happen in a hot spring.
Yes.
Okay, look, the art sucks. I'm not going to get into
so many
why
problems.
exactly it sucks. Several members on the forum have posted detailed, very insightful reasons as to why the art in this chapter particularly fails in what it's trying to convey. You can look over on our forum if you want to look there. I'm not going to repeat those. It's their points. Yeah, and they make good points. But oh my god, this is awful. I'm sorry, I don't like any of this. The revelation about Noelle's mother would be very interesting if it was in any kind of any other setting, because this really does feel like a case of, well, I really just wanted Noelle here for, well, you know, but I guess I'll throw in some character development so it seems like I had a reason. It's irritating. And okay, look, I hate the blue roses. The revelation about like how their group operates doesn't make me hate it anymore. It's still like a terrible organization.
I was very concerned. It's like the only way I can think this is like is not one of the creepiest things I read in this series, is if all of the men in the guild are essentially Mineta from My Hero Academia.
That would be my thing. I'd be like, why would you join? Like, that just sounds like a horrible...
Where they only joined because they're massive perverts and therefore are shat on for the rest of their lives.
I just assume that every single member of that guild, male member, is just the principal from Talovru, I guess. But
which Soul kind of is, because the moment what was the name? The Blue Rose Captain.
Blue Rose Captain girl.
Okay,
Charlotte.
So, yes, Charlotte.
Right. So the moment Charlotte passes out, Soul starts making groping gestures, and
she's trying to cool her down,
and says, "Oh, okay." And then
she's not actually trying to grope
actually, because the actual translation in the official translation is like, "Can I touch you?" or something like that. Which is actually in the official translation.
It's in mine as well. She's essentially trying to see if she's okay, but she doesn't have the confidence to make physical contact. The hand motions are her trying to like fan air over her.
But
otherwise
she also
her
has a nosebleed.
So yes, it's creepy, but she's not actually trying to reach out and grope her. It's on her mind, but her actual hand actions are trying to fan her down.
Yeah, I don't
Otherwise,
know.
the fingers would be spread, and the movement would be of the fingers, not the wrists.
Yeah, I mean, Black Clover has always sucked at fan service, and actually an entire chapter just dedicated to that doesn't work very well. But it's also a bizarre... Okay, I said I wasn't going to comment on the art. I'm going to comment on one thing. It doesn't even have the common courtesy to, like, have Steam covering, like, the particularly awful bits or something like that.
Yes, because the thing I did not mention is this entire chapter is done with the girls butt naked. I specifically did not mention that because it's the weirdest shit. And there's not even steam, there's not even like clouds, convenient light, there's not even any subtlety or towels. They're butt naked and the guy cannot draw it. There's a scene where Charlotte is lying in the water and her buttocks are uneven. It's the weirdest lead drawn thing. And it's not sexy, it's not well done. Limbs melt and fold. And it's weird because we then switch to the male side, and everything is really well drawn. The musculature is done, and everything looks realistic. And we
I'm
have
so
the
glad
entire,
we have someone to talk about this.
and we have the entire shit on the girl side, where the guy doesn't know how to draw women to the point where the breasts look like they look like implants put in around navel level half the time.
They do seem to defy gravity.
Yes, and I want to know whose idea this was, not to put a fan service chapter in, because I don't care about that, but to put a fan service chapter in that the artist obviously cannot draw. The guy, it's such a stupid idea, because they've gone whole hog on shameless fan service with the worst drawn fan service I have ever seen.
I'm not gonna shit.
I'm gonna stop.
I'm not gonna
talking
shit on
about
the
this
art,
chapter
because
before.
then I'd feel like a hypocrite, since my terrible drawings are yeah, you can see them right there.
Oh, I can shit on the art. I'm the worst artist out of the four of us, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's not well drawn. It's a classic example of sexposition, which is just, hey, here's this exposition. Let's keep your attention through it with like boobs and stuff like that. And it's just, it's disappointing. It's with fine, with like disembodied, ghostly, spectral water balloons.
I know that's
stapled to human form, I guess. But what irritates me is, the Hot Springs arc is over. We find that in the last episode. The entire point of this entire arc was for Asta to get new power and for fan service to happen at the top, which is the only reason that we brought the Blue Roses and Noelle. I don't care about you say like, well, there's the character development. You really think we couldn't have gotten that some other way?
Could be I was trying to find one nice thing in this chapter. I was trying really hard to find one nice
The character
thing.
development is nice, but it leaves a bad taste in my mouth because, like I said earlier, it really just feels like an excuse to have Noelle in the hot spring.
Also, Noelle's boobs, the moment she's naked, look about
Can we please stop talking?
Sorry.
Okay, we get it. They're badly drawn. Can we please move on?
No, Kastor, do go on.
No.
Oh.
Okay, I'm bailing out of this podcast like Hovin. Peace.
Oh.
I do actually have to go in a second, though.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Do we have anything else to say on this, or do we just bury it and pretend it never happened, like that Omake of Fairy Tale?
Yeah.
This whole Hot Springs arc was shit. Moving on.
Do the market. Yeah. We're over. We're almost 2 hours and 20 minutes long streaming. So yeah. So is that all?
That's all. I got nothing left.
All right then. So that is gonna do it for this week of Stammer Stream. Thank you for watching, either on my YouTube channel or live at twitch.tv/Wensleydale Cheddar. You can. We usually try to record on Mondays at noon Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. GMT, and 6 p.m. GMT +1. You can follow me on Twitter at Wensleydale Cheddar for updates on the stream, on Panganta, friendly faces everywhere, iffy reviews, well triggered, and many other things. Follow Milo at Hovin with an H for anime waifus, Cabal hijinks, and Cabal cast, which is definitely gonna come. Follow Dr. Nova at Jonah Loves Snow for his WMR Choose Your Own adventure game, the link to which you'll find in the YouTube description below. And follow Kastor at Kastor UK for, you know.
I'm going to put something up one week just to spite you.
Follow Kastor UK for in-depth descriptions as to why the boobs in Black Clover are horribly drawn.
Follow me on ODIR. I literally wrote a rant essay on the Black Clover thread.
Okay.
It was hilarious how many members we got for that. It's just like, here's why this is awful. I agree, but here's also why this is awful.
I didn't see it yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
A bunch of people jumped in on that.
Yeah, so speaking of which, be sure to visit our One Piece RP forum, One Dream Adventure Reborn, to write some lovely stories with us and hang out to talk about manga in general. odar.comforums.com is the address. Any updates on the event, Jonah?
Yes, actually. Now, I want to point out these dates have not been set in stone, but these are the ones that we are currently working to debate. The adventure threads themselves will probably be ending at the end of June. That said, the boss threads will actually be going post-June into July, most likely. But they will probably be starting in June, though, but they will be ending sometime in July. The exact dates we're still working through and debating right now, but the date that we've, for the most part, agreed upon, unless I'm mistaken, and then Blockhead and Grail are going to murder me when they hear this, is that...
No one listens to us.
Yeah. Is that most likely the adventure threads are going to end at the end of June. That said, you don't have to. If you want to end them earlier, like with any event, that's perfectly fine. It's up to you as the writer.
Yeah. Did we mention that? I'm just wondering if we ever mentioned that the event threads have the minimum post count of 5.
We have mentioned it somewhere, but I'll just throw it out again. That there's a minimum there's a minimum of 5 posts. That said, I think the only people who are under that limit currently are people who just haven't been posting in their threads at all recently, and me as Shoto, because I haven't had time to finish the post yet.
Yeah, and enemy as every single one of my characters. Of my 2 characters.
So there is a 5 post minimum. Otherwise, you will have rewards deducted, if only for the fact that you haven't finished the story at all. But that's just a heads up for that. Put 5 posts into your adventure, and then you will get full reward privileges, because we know that you've put enough work in it to deserve that. There is not a maximum post limit. That said, keep in mind that the 4 of us will be reviewing all of these adventures. So understand that the longer you make them, the longer it will take for reviews to come out.
I'm currently under 5 posts on both of my threads.
I'm on it for every single one except Askeladd, I think. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still have a month.
We do. And if we could change these put these post counts but by character, I would be winning everything.
Definitely. All right, I have to head out.
Go on.
Yeah.
All right, then. So on my end, we finished most of the recordings for the promotional Panganta audio thingies. I've actually started working with 2.
Hey.
Hello?
I'm still here.
Okay. Right then. I just heard hey, and okay, that was weird. Never mind. I've actually started working with 2 very talented musicians. So that's something to look forward to. Anything? Okay, I've lost it. Anything you want to plug, Kastor?
Only that I'm now free from exams, so I'm going to be able to do a lot more writing in future.
Cool.
To the point where the current plan is to finish Curse of Maslow this summer.
Oh God, is this actually going to be finished? How long?
It is going to be finished.
How long has it been going on?
It's 2 years. I essentially started it and then had 2 years where I didn't have much time to write.
I didn't even know ODAR was going on for that long. God.
But no, it's 2 years now. Yeah, I'll get it finished eventually. I've got to.
And on that note, we will also finish the recording. So thank you all for watching, and see you next week. Take care.
Bye.